I've always took issue with black folks over the years, and you know, because I put it on my program, I put it on Facebook, on the internet and all that, the black proponents of the gun laws. I have good friends that are out there trying to get the gun restrictions, gun laws and all that, but I've never agreed with that. I'm a gun owner. I'm an AR, I'm a shotgun Glock, I'm a gun owner, a legal gun owner. You have to be, because my position as far as black folks are concerned is that you're pushing for the spigot to be shut off on guns so people can't buy guns. Well, you know, the people that don't like you already have guns, okay? So if that spigot's ever shut off, the only person who's going to be unarmed is you. So what good is that done? Man, I don't believe in that. I believe in the Second Amendment. And as perverted and twisted as those loudmouth right-wingers have perverted the Second Amendment, you know, I'm going to embrace that, because that's where your protection is. Look, do you remember when Obama was running the first time? And he was saying that they needed to have campaign finance laws that limited the amount of money that a candidate can get from those PACs and super PACs, people trying to get them elected. And of course, you know, that's a multi-million dollar fund that you'd be cutting off. Well, I remember Sean Hannity checked Obama and said, because Obama was still taking money while he was saying we needed to stop it. And he said, well, how come you're still taking that money? I thought you said that you didn't believe in candidates getting millions of dollars from those particular organizations. And Obama was like, I don't believe that candidates should be getting all this money from organizations trying to get them elected. But if you guys are going to continue getting all that money, I'd be stupid not to get that money myself. Same thing. You know, it's one thing. Now, if you could have a gun law that would get rid of all of the guns in the United States where nobody could own one, then okay, that's fine. But if folks are going to be owning guns, you better have one. I'm saying with the attitude and the environment that we have in this country today, a black man is foolish for not having protection to be able to protect himself and his family in the society in which we live in today, because the ills are tremendous, okay? But just do it right. And I would love to see black folks wake up and begin to get off, because you know we can do it right. You know, if we ever came to the point as black people where we said, yeah, we need to get armed, we're going to have some cool guns, you know, we're going to have pearl handle, velvet, you know, look at all this, have little names or tattoos on the side or engraving, maybe Nike or something engraved on the barrel or something, but we're going to have some cool stuff. And that's what we need to have. Not to go out taking somebody's life. And see, that's another thing. As black people, now look, I know white folks are watching this program, and I usually don't participate in this conversation with white folks. But oh well. Black folks, we need to stop killing ourselves. We need to chill with the black on black crime. You go to a club and two black people end up fighting somebody. We cannot do that. See, we talk about, especially when we're high, you know, we talk about stuff, how the white man has infused drugs into the community, and that has been the downfall of the black community, like the crack cocaine, and you know what, it's probably true. But you know what's more detrimental to black people than the drugs that were infused into our communities is the lack of cohesiveness, the lack of oneness, the division that we have toward one another as black people. We're not together on this. We kill each other. We don't mind stealing from each other. We are so divided. We couldn't defend ourselves as a people if we needed to. And see, that is more of a detriment, and that was an intentional infusion into our community. It was a division. Look, through the slave trade, through the plantations, they would make sure, first of all, that they would put people from different tribes with different groups. They would make sure people could not communicate with each other to the best of their ability, okay? Of course, eventually, you know, everyone did, but that was the intent, to keep them divided, to keep them from being able to communicate. They would even have fight clubs. You know how we see them fighting those dogs today? And fighting them chickens? Well, they were fighting Negroes back in the day. And who wouldn't? If you were strong, if you could survive and realize that you would be treated well, you probably would. So they encouraged division among black people all throughout history. So what do we have today? So we have the gangs that wear the blue colors. We have the gangs that wear the reds. We have this kind of gang, that kind of gang. I know in Dayton we have a whole bunch of gangs all over this nation, okay? But all I'm saying is that's a division. That's an intentional division. You want to call the welfare system a way to divide people, a way to keep people under, keep people subjected because they need to be fed, by the man. You want to talk about the drugs being infused into the community to keep people focused on self-destructive traits that are keeping them from functioning in any kind of successful way. Well, I want to suggest to you that the division of black people in this nation, the negative attitude that we have toward each other is more divisive and more destructive than the drugs, than anything else that we can imagine, because there is no cohesiveness. A nation divided against itself cannot stand. As Abraham Lincoln, I believe that's a biblical verse as well. If we are divided, we cannot stand. And so as long as we are killing each other, as long as we are stealing from each other, as long as we are divided, we'll never be worth of anything. The power even in the civil rights movement was the cohesiveness of the groups. You had people like Stokely Carmichael. You had people like Malcolm X. You had people like Martin Luther King Jr. whose views were diametrically opposed to each other, but they came to a point to realize that if anything was going to be accomplished, they had to come together in unity, and that's what they did. And so we have allowed ourselves to be disunified, to be segmented, and to where we have no strength. It's like your hand. I mean, you ever heard the thing, a three-stranded cord, as strong as a three-stranded cord is? You could take one string and pull it and break it. You could take three of the same strings and twist them together, and they can't be broken. There was a strength in unity, and we don't have that strength. So it seems like the only strength, the only power we have today in America is that we can get on the internet, on Facebook, and type SMH. Look what they did to us. How could they do that to us? How terrible those people are. What good is that doing? Nothing. We need to suck it up, get strong. I suggested the other day, to somebody that how we needed to do this. We need to just get armed, get confidence, do right, and just protect ourselves if the need arose. Well, look, anytime somebody, a black person tries to stand, they end up going to jail. No, you cannot have a defeatist attitude. Look, today we are riding, our successes today, our liberties today are riding on the coattails of the sacrifices of scores and scores of black people and others who sacrificed themselves, their lives, their well-being, their livelihood, so we can be well today. So what are we willing to sacrifice? So we need to stand up for ourselves. We need to defend ourselves. We need to stand our own ground, and there will be battles lost. We will go to court when we are right, and we will lose at times. But perseverance. We have become such a weak generation that we believe that posting a post and putting SMH on there is somehow participating in a movement to help free the black people from bondage that we're experiencing in this nation, but it's not. And if you can do nothing else but simply defend yourself, if we can have a nation of black people that are all defending themselves, we won't have many of the issues that we're having today. Look at the Wild West. You know what you don't see in the Wild West in the movies, the pictures, or even the history books? Is that a third of all the cowboys were black. And they were tough. They were strong. They were roping steer. They were the best bronco riders. Those were the black folks. Did you know that the Lone Ranger, remember the Lone Ranger and Tonto, the series that we had, all those years, that lawman that would go out and bring in, there was a real Lone Ranger. He was a black man. For real. Because black folks. You see us, when we play basketball, black folks didn't invent basketball. But who's the greatest at basketball? Who's the greatest at football? Black folks didn't play football either. But we took it and we perfected it. What do you think we'd do if we had guns and we were arming ourselves? We'd get good. And the point is not that we would be bullies, not that we would take over or be wrong type people, but that we'd be able to protect ourselves. And what I'm suggesting this is, right now what you have today, you have people that will have no problem walking up to a black person and punking them and even starting a fight so they can exercise their right to stand ground. Because they pretty much know that as a black man, you're probably not carrying a gun. But as black people begin to arm ourselves legally and carrying the correct kind of way, there'll be less of this type bullying because folks won't know which black man is carrying a gun. And they're not going to affect you like that. Bullies are cowards. And their only strength lies when they believe that you can't defend yourself. So these little skinny guys that are walking up and shooting big brothers who are standing in the street with the waving their hands and all, they're going to think twice. They're not going to even attempt to bully a black man if they don't know at all whether this black man is. Be like the old days when they think that every black man had a knife. You don't know how many times in the 70s somebody needed a knife and a white guy would say, hey, can I use your knife? I'm like, I don't have a knife. Let them be that way about guns, and there'll be less bullying toward black folks.